You ever get that sinking feeling? The one where you just kind of look around at your life and think, how? How did I get here? It's this powerful and honestly really isolating feeling that maybe, just maybe, you've messed things up beyond repair. Well, we're going to get into this because it turns out you are so far from alone. So check this out. It all started with this question, posted on a Reddit forum for book suggestions. I mean, look at that phrasing. There's no sugarcoating it, no trying to be polite. It's just a raw, vulnerable, and incredibly human cry for help. And that one post, it hit a major nerve. Because that feeling, that everything is proper fucked feeling, this wasn't just one person's private crisis. It was a sentiment that literally thousands of people immediately recognized in themselves, even if they'd never actually said the words out loud. And what happened next was just incredible. It was this huge outpouring of support. A whole digital community basically rushed in to say, hey, I've been there, and even more importantly, here's what helped me. It just goes to show sometimes the most honest questions get the most powerful answers. So what did the internet recommend? Well, the answers came in fast and they were all over the map, pulling from every corner of the literary world. Let's take a look at some of the top suggestions. I mean, what a list. You've got the absolute heavy hitters like Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, which is all about finding purpose even in the absolute worst of times. You have these epic memoirs of transformation, like Wild by Cheryl Strayed, spiritual guides like When Things Fall Apart, and even modern fiction favorites like The Midnight Library. It's basically a whole library for when life just completely goes off script. But in the middle of all these classics and bestsellers, one title just kept popping up that felt different. It wasn't some dense psychological text or a huge memoir. It was this short, illustrated book that felt so personal and so incredibly of the moment. So what was it, and where did it come from? And that brings us to an illustrator and author named Alessandra Olanow. Her story is a pretty amazing example of how creativity can become a lifeline when your entire world just feels like it's falling apart. So, after a bunch of really tough, life-altering events, including a divorce that left her as a single mom, Olanow felt like the picture-perfect life she'd planned had just crumbled. So what did she do? She did the one thing she knew how. She started to draw. She used her Instagram account almost like a visual diary. She called it an emotional purge, sharing her shock, her self-doubt, and her day-to-day struggle to find her footing again. And that brutal honesty, that vulnerability, wow, it resonated big time. In just a single year, her audience exploded from around 9,500 to over 157,000 followers. She wasn't just drawing for herself anymore. She was drawing for this huge community that saw their own lives reflected in her simple, honest art. This quote right here, it just perfectly captures the whole spirit of her work. It's not about some grand, perfect destination. It's about acknowledging the journey itself. It's about celebrating those tiny steps forward, honoring your progress, and just being a little kinder to yourself along the way. So eventually, her collection of drawings and her thoughts became a book called I Used to Have a Plan, and she structured it in a really smart way, not just as a random collection of illustrations, but as a clear path, kind of like a blueprint for how to navigate chaos. The book is broken down into these 5 simple but really powerful stages. It starts with that initial shock. I didn't see that coming. Then it moves into giving yourself grace. It's okay that you're not okay. It tackles that feeling of losing yourself in where'd I go? And then it faces the hard work head-on in the only way out is through. And finally, it lands in this place of acceptance and peace with, I like it here, can I stay a while? It's a roadmap that makes this messy, overwhelming process feel, well, manageable. Reviewers and readers alike have called it a balm for the soul. And that's really what it is. It takes one person's very specific pain and transforms it into this universal story about getting back up, reminding anyone who picks it up that yes, healing is actually possible. Now, Olanow's book is a beautiful example of finding your way through. But let's circle back to where we started. That original Reddit thread showed us there's a whole library of wisdom out there. So let's build ourselves a little toolkit with a few more of these expert-recommended guides for when things get tough. Think of these as different tools for the same problem, right? You've got William Bridges' Transitions, which gives you a framework, showing you that every new beginning has to start by consciously dealing with an ending first. Viktor Frankl, we talked about, he helps you find your why, that deep sense of purpose that can pull you through almost anything. Pema Chodron's work is all about changing your relationship with pain itself, to stop fighting it and maybe start learning from it. Then you have someone like Brené Brown, who totally reframes that vulnerability you're feeling, not as a weakness, but as the very core of courage. And finally, Designing Your Life gives you this super practical, hands-on way to actually build your way forward, testing out little life prototypes. The big takeaway here is pretty simple. Nobody gets a perfect, straight-line journey through life. Change is universal, feeling lost is universal, but thankfully, so is the wisdom that's been gathered over centuries to help us get through it. You don't have to figure this out from scratch. The guides are already there, just waiting for you. So all of this, a simple, honest question on the internet, an artist's personal crisis, this whole library of wisdom, it all brings us to one final, really powerful idea. And it's about taking back control of your own story. Feeling like you've ruined your life, that's the feeling that you've come to the end of the story. But what if that's wrong? What if you're not at the end of the book, but just at the end of a really hard chapter? The real question then isn't, is it over, but what kind of story do you want to write next? And which of these guides will you pick up to help you start?